It's not far off the same process that you've got to undertake for fracking. So for the UK perspective, it does create a bit of a challenging conversation where you've got something that's perceived as a really green technology that can help us through energy transition that obviously is sort of potentially undertaking something that we're so staunchly against in the UK.
Decarbonisation of heating is a major talking point right now, and geothermal is one of those sectors that is looking to do something about it. James, you've been looking into this as part of your capacity also. I want to speak about geothermal, not in Germany, where you've been delivering some projects, but rather in the UK.
Okay.
So, first of all, what's the opportunity in the UK? Is it possible?
Yeah, it is possible. There are some geothermal campaigns happening right now, but I think for us, where our equipment really focuses is around power gen geothermal, where they're doing power gen initially, then district heating, and actually in some cases extraction of lithium after that. Which we are finding in Europe. In the UK, there are some lithium extraction opportunities. I would say less so, maybe district heating, but less so for power gen.
Right. That's quite interesting because, you know, geothermal, like when people think of it in Europe, they think of Iceland, but, you know, you've been delivering work in Germany, you've been delivering work across Europe.
Yeah.
You know, this power generation geothermal, for a long time, people were speaking about it like, oh, well, you need this perfect geology and otherwise it doesn't work. How is the consensus on that changing? Do people see it as a more viable solution these days?
I mean, ultimately, to create steam, you need extremely hot formations, right? So there's inevitably always going to be that part of a constraint there for power gen. But I mean, look, as technology improves, they will inevitably be able to use that, in better and more efficient ways. But I mean, as far as the opportunity, okay, there's less opportunities around power gen geothermal because the investment is so huge that you require for that. But, you know, for district heating, and actually what they're finding now is even more of a focus around lithium extraction, it's a pretty exciting big opportunity, and that, for that element of it, can be far more wide ranging.
You know, and tying it back to the UK, I was speaking to an Aberdeen taxi driver the other day, and we were speaking about the energy transition.
Source of all truth.
Exactly that. And we were speaking about, you know, different opportunities. Geothermal came up, and he went, "Oh, what's that?" I said, "Oh, you drill a big hole in the ground, pump the water out, and pump the water in, and it comes out hot." And he went, "Isn't that just fracking?" And it kind of made me think. I'd not approached this before, but in the UK, we do have this major issue with the energy transition around the whole NIMBY thing, you know. Is that something that geothermal needs to tackle, sort of, you know, public outreach things, saying this isn't the fracking debate we had 10?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, there's obviously an element of that that's required, depending on the formation, of course, but there's an element of that's required. You know, I mean, it's not far off the same process that you've got to undertake for fracking. So, yeah, I guess for the UK perspective, it does create a bit of a challenging conversation where you've got something that's perceived as a really green technology that can help us through energy transition that obviously is sort of potentially undertaking something that we're so staunchly against in the UK. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenging thing. I mean, look, I can use the German example quite well for this, that, you know, it depends on, I think there's 11, it could be more than that, but I think there's about 11 different regional councils that you've got to discuss, each with their own kind of different, you know, environmental constraints about how they perceive geothermal and drilling, fracking, whatever that might be required to get it to produce.
And is that a conversation that was happening in Germany, this sort of fear of onshore drilling?
Definitely. Maybe not quite so much the onshore drilling piece, but definitely for, you know, a lot of what produces or what comes out or what can come out of geothermal wells can be high salinity water, for example. What do you do with that? How do you treat it? Where can you dispose of it, etc.? So there are always the environmental things, and ultimately, as you would fully expect, people generally don't want drill rigs on their back door. So there's all of these things that are all the challenges. But I think generally what you would see is that there's a very positive perception around geothermal in general for it.
Yeah, well, I don't like it when I'm trying to watch the telly and the neighbour's drilling a hole in the wall to hang a picture. So I can imagine big drilling well in my back garden's maybe a bit of an issue. So in terms of that Germany sort of conversation, they're delivering projects, and there's a big circle to square there in the environmental side of things. From a regulatory standpoint in the UK, is there lessons to be learned?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there's definitely lessons to be learned. I think there's also the opportunity to kind of learn for how these projects have been undertaken over there, and what their environmental footprint has been. I think the challenge that we've got in the UK is around planning constraints and things like that. Things take so long, and especially of this nature, it takes so long to get over the line, that'll inevitably put people off anyway. And I think the challenge with drilling anything onshore in the UK, as we all know, is always going to be met with a lot of resistance, regardless. So, I mean, where we've seen this work is, I think there's Weardale Lithium, there's one down Cornish Lithium as well, which are both really focusing on that lithium extraction. Of course, there is some benefit to locals around about if they can get some district heating, but yeah, I mean, look, in general, we've got slightly different, we've got a slightly different sort of makeup underneath the ground, where you're not going to find quite such hot temperatures anyway. But from a district heating perspective, there's definitely an opportunity there.